Ladies and gentlemen, good day and welcome to Shelby Limited Q1 FY22 earnings conference call, hosted by Elara Securities Private Limited. As a reminder, all participant lines will be in the listen-only mode. There will be an opportunity for you to ask questions after the presentation concludes. Should you need assistance during the conference, please signal an operator by pressing star and then 0 on your touchtone telephone. Please note that this conference is being recorded. I now hand the conference over to Mr. Param Desai from Elara Securities. Thank you, and over to you, sir.
Thank you, Inba. Good afternoon to all the participants in the Shelby Limited Q1 FY22 earnings call hosted by Elara Securities. Today we have with us from the Shelby management Dr. Vikram Shah, Chairman and Managing Director, Sanay Shah, President, Mr. Sushobhan Dasgupta, Vice Chairman and Global President, Dr. Nishita Shukla, Group CEO, Mr. Prahlad Inani, CFO, and other senior management from the Shelby. I will hand over the call to Puneet, who is the part of their corporate strategy and IR team. Over to you, Puneet.
Thanks, Param. Good afternoon, everyone. Our earnings presentation is uploaded on the stock exchanges website on our company website too. We do hope you have already had the opportunity to go through the presentation. Please note that some of the statements made in today's call may be forward-looking in the nature and may involve risk and uncertainties. Kindly refer to slide number 24 of the earnings presentation for the detailed disclaimer. Now I would like to hand over the call to Mr. Sanay Shah, the President, for his opening remarks. Thanks, and over to you, sir.
Hello, good evening everyone, and welcome to Shelby's Q1 FY22 earnings call. I hope you and your loved ones are staying safe and healthy. At the outset, I would like to share an important milestone with all of you that Shelby has recently completed the journey of 10,000 days. A journey that started with the setting up of 6 modest beds, and today we have come a long way to 2,000 plus beds and 11 hospitals, and is recognized as one of the leading healthcare service providers in the country. The journey has not been easy or smooth, but more of a roller coaster ride. Backed by a never-ending commitment to patient care and an unmatched belief in our ability to deliver an unbreakable trust of our patients. Shelby's next phase of step-up growth has just begun. Now, to give you a quick update of the first quarter, as you all know, it has been more than 1.5 years since the first wave of COVID-19 hit the country, with the pandemic taking toll on both personal and professional lives. The resurgence of second wave of April this year proved to be much more severe than the previous one. I am humbled that in such a difficult period, Shelby, as a healthcare provider, has been able to make a meaningful impact in the lives of people and communities through affordable and quality healthcare services. In the month of April and May, we converted majority of our operational beds into COVID-19 beds and even added additional beds to treat more COVID-19 patients during the peak time. During the quarter, we served more than 100,000 patients and treated over 5,000 plus COVID-19 patients across our hospital group. Our average occupancy levels increased to close to 60% in quarter 1 FY22 as compared to a predominantly low number in quarter 1 last year. We stand with the nation and are committed to the cause of vaccination for the larger good of the society. We treat this as a moral and social responsibility and has ensured that no additional cost has to be borne by the people for such services. Shelby Group of Hospitals has also partnered with government and NGOs to ensure vaccination of people from urban to the remotest part of India to create herd immunity, and as a result, we have administered already over 100,000 jabs so far. With the ongoing vaccination program across the country, we are seeing declining COVID-19 cases and can expect recovery in elective cases in the coming quarters. Shelby, with its sufficient bed capacity and experienced team of doctors, is well positioned to meet the growing demand of affordable and high quality healthcare. At Shelby, we also take pride in imparting practical learning of healthcare education to nurture the students and healthcare workers with holistic development programs for achieving sustainable employment and quality healthcare delivery. This is fully in line with our learning and development program, where we nurture talent and emphasize on multi-speciality to create sustainable workforce. Now I would like to introduce Mr. Sushobhan Das Gupta, who has joined Team Shalby as the Vice Chairman and Global President. He will be leading strategic initiatives and the newly operationalized implant business of Shalby. He brings over 3 decades of leadership skills and experience from the global healthcare and the medical devices industry. I will now hand over the call to him to provide an overview of our recent strategic initiatives. Thank you.
Thank you, Shanai, for the very kind introduction, and a very good afternoon, everyone. And thank you for joining us today. This is the first time since joining the Shalby Group that I'm speaking to you all, and I'm very sure this is the first of many such interactive sessions that I look forward to. I'm extremely excited to be a part of the team and hope to make the best of this opportunity by working very hard with our team here and make a positive difference in the lives of thousands of patients in India and globally. Opportunities are multifold lying ahead of us at Shalby, and indeed there are several growth areas which I would highlight that we have and will have continue to make significant progress going forward. A bit of a quick introduction for myself. Prior to joining Shalby, I have spent over 30 years developing, expanding, and leading businesses in India and across the world. In my last role at Johnson & Johnson, I was leading the orthopedic businesses for the entire Asia-Pacific region, including the large markets of China, Japan, and Australia. And my team there worked very hard to gain substantial market shares and eventually became the #1 orthopedic company in the region a couple of years back. And prior to my Asia-Pacific role at Johnson & Johnson Medical, I was the managing director of Johnson & Johnson Medical in India and South Asia for close to 7 years, from 2012 to 2019. I joined Shalby in the middle of May of 2021 with the company's acquisition of the assets of Consensus Orthopedics that you are all aware, with the primary objective of helping Shalby enter and establish a strong footprint in the high potential, high opportunity implant market in the US and other countries across the world, including Asia Pacific, by using the vast experience and deep knowledge, leadership that Shalby already has in the orthopedic replacement space. The acquisition is completely aligned and in sync to a long-term goal of further strengthening our healthcare service offerings and integrate our core areas with many such accelerated opportunities. Many such new, fast-growing and profitable strategic initiatives like the one which I just talked about will help us in Shalby to diversify the business and revenue streams and further help us expand our synergistic reach, resulting in accelerated business growth for the entire group. Now I would like to update you on some of the progress on such new strategic initiatives that we made during the quarter. Our implant business, our joint replacement business in USA, started its operations from 14th May, and in a short span of 1.5 months of the June quarter, the business has delivered a revenue of $595,000, which is around 4.5 crores, of a gross profit margin close to 50%. Manufacturing efficiencies are expected to improve further while we scale up our volumes in the coming quarters. In our last call, we mentioned that we are working on the business plan for the orthopedic implant business and shall update you in due course. We are now in the process of developing a playbook for Shalby Advanced Technologies, a strategic roadmap document that will help us all be aligned on what to, where to, and how to achieve over the next 1 to 5 years. We are expecting to see a positive turnaround in our implant business by the end of next year, and also expect to break even and be earnings accretive as well before the end of full year 23. We are heavily focused now in the process of rebuilding systems and operations, hiring members of the new executive team, re-engineering brand and logos, and upgrading our IT infrastructure in the US, as most importantly, reigniting the relationships with our existing customers while we look at new customers to expand demand for our products. This business also will further enable us at Shalby to procure quality implants at a competitive price later for a captive consumption, and the division's growth will be further augmented by simultaneous accelerated growth of the franchisee model in India. Now let me talk a bit about the franchise model. The role of the franchise model was earlier strategically put on hold due to the ongoing pandemic, and now it has picked up pace. We have added 2 franchise partnerships for Udaipur and Rajkot. Udaipur is expected to commence operations in current quarter, and Rajkot is expected to commence operations from quarter 4 full year 2022. We will leverage the learnings from these 2 units for our next phase of expansion, which will focus on metro cities followed by state capital cities. This is an asset-light model and will allow Shalby to go deeper into Tier 1 and Tier 2 cities and strengthen Shalby brand and presence across India. We will bolstering our presence in this space through digital campaigns, print media, health trade shows, business development visits that would help us tap another 100+ beds hopefully by the end of this year. Our very new home care service offerings has received positive response, especially from COVID-19 patients, as an extended offerings of excellence from our hospital services, and we will continue to strengthen our home care services through expanding its presence into key geographies. We had around 1.6 crores of business last quarter, serving 500 patients more versus the previous quarter, which is at around 4,300 patients, driven mainly through our diagnostic, pharmacy, medical equipment, and nursing services. The initial feedback from our patients served has been extremely positive, and we are hopeful to serve over 20,000 patients by the close of the last quarter through this new initiative of ours. Along with these new initiatives that I just talked about, which is our orthopedic implant business, our franchise model, and our home care service, we are expanding our geographical presence by adding new OPD centers across India. We are also investing in the state-of-the-art technology and equipments, notably in the cardiac and spine areas, to provide best possible services, and are focusing on digitalization, including revamping our website and launching a very interactive Shalby app to serve our patients better without geographical constraints and distance constraints. Employees are an important pillar of any organization, and I'm very, very proud of our Shalby workforce who have shown tremendous dedication and commitment even in the most challenging times. Almost every team member has worked non-stop for a long period of hours, day after day, last quarter to serve a large number of patients in need, and I'm ever grateful for that. We have consistently delivered high-quality healthcare services to these patients, and to top it all, with ever-smiling faces. At Shalby, we continue to focus on training and skills development, and during the quarter, Shalby has successfully inaugurated advanced simulation lab for training purpose for clinical staff, doctors, nurses, and paramedical staff. In addition, we have also conducted critical care training program for our 300 nurses in our SG, Surat, Jaipur, and Indore units. Shalby Academy has also partnered with 5 universities for courses based on healthcare sector as a part of the healthcare education initiatives. We soon are planning to launch healthcare dedicated MBA program and another program on healthcare operations, partnering with universities in addition to our earlier courses programs with them, as a true commitment to develop a much more organized and skilled workforce in this sector. Hence, as you can see, opportunities in healthcare are multifold, and we are positioning Shalby very well for today and tomorrow to play a significant role in such opportunities through the end-to-end integration of our core services, coupled with our asset-light business models and the fast-growing orthopedic implant space. With a growing trend in occupancy rates across most of our hospitals, our endeavor to reach and vaccinate a large number of people using our scale, our strategy to expand across many more geographies in India and globally, I am tremendously confident that Shalby would continue to grow fast and profitably and generate tremendous shareholder value as we dedicate ourselves in serving our patients better. Now I will hand over to the call to Mr. Prahlad Inani, our CFO, to present the company's financial performance. Over to Mr. Inani.
Thank you, Mr. Dasgupta, and good afternoon to everyone. I'll walk you through the financial performance of the company for the first quarter. The momentum of sequential recovery in the business that began from second quarter of last fiscal year continued during this quarter, and the company has delivered strong growth in all major financial metrics. As Q1 FY21 was adversely impacted by COVID-19, I would like to present both sequential as year-on-year figures, which will present company's performance in a holistic manner. On a standalone basis, the company registered total revenue of rupees 1,828 million in Q1 FY22 compared to rupees 1,440 million in last quarter and rupees 408 million in the same quarter last year. Total revenue grew by 27% on QoQ basis and 348% on year-on-year basis. Our top line was primarily driven by increase in COVID-19 patients, as COVID-19 business contributed 55% to the revenue as compared to 7% in the previous quarter. EBITDA for the quarter is rupees 446 million compared to rupees 346 million in the last quarter and a loss of rupees 25 million in the same quarter last year. EBITDA margin was 24.4% as compared to 24% in Q4 FY21. The high margins are primarily driven by better revenue growth and various cost optimization initiatives that have been implemented by the company. Net profit was rupees 248 million for the quarter compared to rupees 110 million in last quarter and a loss of 86 million in the same quarter last year. PAT margin for the quarter stood at 13.6%. We have also released consolidated financial statements for quarter as per regulatory requirements. You will notice that operating EBITDA margins were slightly lower as compared to Q4 FY21, primarily due to the Shelby Advanced Technologies expense which began operations from 14th May. EBITDA loss from Shelby Advanced Technologies was rupees 38 million, which impacted the margin at the consolidated level. On the operational parameter performance front, surgery count was 2,813, and as majority of the hospital facilities were treating COVID-19 patients, thus consequently critical care and general medicine was also the major revenue contributor. In Q1 FY22, the total number of operational beds were 1,224 with 723 beds occupied, representing an occupancy level of 59% as compared to 40% in Q4 FY21. ARPOB stood at rupees 27,779 compared to rupees 33,225 in Q4 FY21, an expected decline as surgery count was reduced and the number of COVID-19 patients increased. Thank you very much. We can now open the call for any Q&A, question and answer session you may have.
Thank you very much, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, we will now begin the question and answer session. Anyone who wishes to ask a question may press star and 1 on their touchtone telephone. If you wish to remove yourself from the question queue, you may press star and 2. Participants are requested to use handsets while asking a question. Anyone who has a question may enter star and 1. Ladies and gentlemen, we will wait for a moment while the question queue assembles. Our first question is from the line of Jash Shah from Value Investments. Please go ahead.
Yeah. Hi, good evening. I just had a question on, can you give me the bifurcation between COVID and non-COVID revenue, please?
See, we did about 100 crore of revenue coming in from COVID, and the balance came in from other specialties.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you. A reminder to our participants, if you wish to ask a question, you may press star and 1. Our next question is from the line of Dixit Doshi from Whitestone Financial Advisors. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity. Firstly, can you mention about the occupancy levels currently or even in July?
Sure. So see, as we talk, we are doing the highest occupancy levels in the company's history with non-COVID patients, right? We've done a higher number with COVID in quarter one, but we are 20 to 25% higher on a consistent basis compared to quarter one, which was the best non-COVID quarter for us in the history of the company.
Okay. Secondly, can you elaborate more on this two franchise model which we are going to start this year? Is there any investment we have to do and oppose that once the operation starts? So is it like the entire hospital we will be managing, and how the revenue booking or profit sharing is all going to happen?
Yeah, I'll answer the question. This is Shobhan. Now, when you look at the franchisee model, I think we had talked earlier about it. There are two types of models. One is the FOFO, which is the franchise-owned, franchise-operated, and the other one is the franchise-owned, shall be operated, which is the FOSO. I mentioned about these two new areas that we are going into, which is Udaipur and Rajkot, right? So the Udaipur and Rajkot, if you look at it, Udaipur is a FOFO model, and Rajkot would be a FOSO model. So that means where a FOFO model is, as I said, is franchise-owned, franchise-operated. In both the models, we would charge the revenue through a certain fee, which would be coming out of our consulting or the initial fee, and then it depends upon whether it's a FOFO and a FOSO. The revenue streams are generated. In a FOSO model, we help in running the operations on a regular basis. In a FOFO model, the franchise operates, but we oversee the operations going forward.
Okay, and whatever the revenue and the profit will be generated there will be recorded in their books, and we will only get our share?
Mr. Inani, would you be able to take this question? Thank you.
Yeah, sure. So basically, in FOFO model, the revenue will be recognized in the franchisees' books, and the commissions and other things and our revenue share will come to us. In FOSO model, where franchisee is owning and Shelby is operating, it basically revenue books in their books. However, it depends that we have certain leeway over there that if the investment, if it is recalled from us, like major investment, then we can have some strategy and tie-up. We are open for that, where we can book the revenue in our books also. But in both the scenario, revenue is booked in the franchisee books only.
Okay, and just one more question on.
I'll just kind of add to that. So in the franchisee-owned Shelby operated, the revenue will be booked in Shelby's book.
Yeah, Shelby.
And the revenue share will be given to the partner. And it will be exactly the reverse in the FOFO model.
Okay. And in both the model, what would be, fees? It will be like some percentage of revenue?
So the percentage of revenue will be basically between 5 and 10%.
Okay, 5 to 10% of the revenue we will be sharing.
It really depends on the town, and it depends on the investment that both parties are making. It depends on the working capital required basically to operate a franchise over there. It has so many different, variables that we need to consider, even before we finalize on any number.
Okay, and last thing on this thing. So what would the size how many beds are there in both the hospitals? And are both the hospitals are multi-specialty?
No, both are going to be orthopedic hospitals only, and both will be having between 30 to 40 beds.
Okay. Thank you. That's it from my side.
So for everyone's knowledge, what we are trying to do is the franchisee model will be specific to orthopedics only.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Before we take our next question, we would like to remind participants to ask a question. You may enter star and 1. Our next question is from the line of Rikesh Parekh from Barclays. Please go ahead.
Yeah. Yes, thanks for the opportunity and congratulations on good set of numbers. The first question is on the occupancy level. This quarter we are done 59% occupancy. But if we exclude the COVID patient, then what would be the standardized occupancy level? Can we have it?
See, as we saw that the revenue split between COVID and non-COVID is half and half. It would be fair to say that the occupancy levels would be almost the same. A little more skewed towards COVID patients because COVID patients have a slightly longer stay in the hospital compared to the non-COVID patients.
Okay, got it. And coming to the second part, wanted to know about the progress on this Shalby Advanced Technologies. We were planning to file for a patent in India. So any progress on that?
Yeah, I'll take that question. Again, as we have mentioned earlier, so we took this company, we acquired the assets of Consensus Orthopedics, right? And we are looking at how we would like to progress this going forward. So there's a lot of work going on here. First of all, we had to create a new executive team. We have a very experienced CEO, Daniel Hayes, who has taken over, and he has started recruiting. We had to recruit a new financial lead there. We've recruited a new HR lead there. We had a new sales and marketing lead there, and we are in the process of recruiting the other executive team members as well. The good news is that the people that we are recruiting are people who have had the previous experiences working in this Consensus Orthopedics and left that organization earlier. So we are getting them back. Secondly, also, we have been able to retain almost everyone with the 40-plus employees in the organization, especially at the shop floor level and the technical level. So we are looking at how do we strengthen the talent, because finally, if we don't have the right people, we won't be able to progress. Secondly, as an update, we would say we have looked at the strategic plan of the organization, as I said earlier. We have created a playbook, or we are in the process of creating a playbook. We are looking at the plans, and we're looking at what the revenues are. There's a lot of improvements that we are making on the systems, processes, and efficiencies, including the efficiencies of manufacturing in that organization. And finally, it is very important for us to get back the relationships that were there. As you have known over the last 4 or 5 years, that company had not been focusing a lot on the orthopedic implants. They were looking at some of the other advanced technologies, and that's the reason the focus was not there in the orthopedic implants. But there's a huge opportunity because the brand itself has a very big name. We have spoken to a lot of distributors, we've spoken to a lot of surgeons and hospitals, and they would love to get it back. So a primary update here is that we are investing in buying raw materials and getting the manufacturing production up and running as quickly as possible. We are in the process of a lot of materials have already come in. The factories have already started running. The first 1.5 months, we have recorded a sales of 4.5 crores. It's mainly come out of the existing inventory, but now the production has started in full flow. So we expect our Q3 and Q4 results to be coming up with fresh stocks that are being produced. With all this, we believe that over the period of this year, full year, we would be ending up at 45 to 50 crores of sales. And as I said, next year, which is the full year 23, we'll be breaking even and be earnings accretive as well. What you asked the question is about India, right? So
yeah, India.
For India, it is, as you know, the registration takes around between 6 to 8 months. If we could advance it and maybe make it 5 months. But what is required is the documentation. We have all the documentation, but because of the transfer, we have to register with the FDA, our name, the Shalby Advanced Technologies name. We have to get the ISO 13485 from the BSI transferred into our name and all the documents and so on. So it's taking time. However, we are pretty confident by early next year, we should be able to start selling our products, or rather putting our products into the Shalby into captive consumption, as well as reach out to other areas of India as well as parts of Asia Pacific.
Sure. Thanks. And one more question, if I can squeeze in.
Sure.
I think so. I will say congratulations at least getting that approval for operationalizing the Zinova. So just wanted to have your thoughts on the first month of operation of this, our first franchisee network as well.
Dr. Shah?
So I will tell you that, the Zinova again is kind of a model which is more like a 4-4 model, where essentially we are going to be getting a revenue share of whatever is generated in that hospital, right? As we know that, initially what has happened is Dr. Shah and his team have spent, a couple of days over there in the first month, and we have seen tremendous response in the patient flows over there. Mm-hmm. However, 1 month, as you all know, is a very short period, and we are very optimistic that this hospital will do well in the future. What Shalby gets is, a top line sharing from this particular hospital in Bombay.
Sure. Thank you. That's it from my side.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, if you wish to ask a question, you may press star and 1. Our next question is from the line of Ashish Thavkar from Motilal Oswal Asset Management. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity. So given this COVID, is it possible to give the average revenue per bed for the COVID patients versus our core business?
I would like to talk about the revenue. This is Shalby's third consecutive quarter where we have come up with the highest ever revenue and the highest ever earnings in the company's history, whether it be a COVID quarter or whether it be a non-COVID quarter, right? And if we talk about ARPOB, our ARPOB in quarter 4 was 33,000. That was backed by almost 5,500 plus operations that we did, right? However, having said that, in this particular quarter, I'll give you a split of the ARPOB. So the non-COVID work, we had an ARPOB of 30,000 rupees, and for COVID work, we had an ARPOB of 25,000 rupees. The blended average is almost 27,800 rupees. Now, it is very important to note that we have made significant progress in a COVID quarter compared to a previous COVID quarter, that was Q3 in FY21. In Q3 FY21, we had recorded an ARPOB of around 25,000, and we have almost increased that ARPOB by almost 8 to 10% in this particular quarter. That was backed by a higher number of operations and higher number of non-COVID work that we did.
Okay. And how do you see, post a very solid 1Q for the COVID patients? How do you see second quarter? So most like across pan India, the cases have been stabilized now. How do you see the current quarter going on? Obviously, the vaccine part remains there, but as far as the COVID patients getting admitted, how do you see that aspect of the business panning out for us?
I'll tell you, there are two aspects to COVID. One is really the fact that we are not seeing any influx of new COVID patients. And the second is that we are inoculating close to 13 to 1,500 patients every day. So that is giving us a monthly average of close to 450 to 500,000 vaccines, right? And essentially this will translate to 4.5 to 5 crore of top line if we continue to do inoculation at this pace. Having said that, we don't see a lot of influx of patients, and we are hopeful that we will continue in the same way because, one is, of course, there has been significant inoculation going on across the country. Second is a lot of the people are already, having the antibodies because they are already impacted by this. So as far as we are talking about the regions where Shalby is concerned, we are seeing very minimal influx.
Okay, yeah, helpful. And on the advanced part of our business, you said FY23 we shall break even at the EBITDA. So what that is it possible for you guys to share that EBITDA number? Would it be somewhere around 25-30 crores?
Shanai or Ms. Chenani, would you address that?
essentially, we believe, I think Mr. Dasgupta was clear and he said that we will be EBITDA neutral in FY23 for Shalby Advanced Technologies.
Okay, by FY23 end. Okay, fair enough. Just one last question from my side on this Asha Parekh development. Would you guys classify this asset as a FOFO?
No, so this is basically an asset where Shalby will be investing money into the building and the equipment, and we have this hospital for a very long-term lease that is more than 60 years. So it's not a franchisee. It is a hospital where all the revenues and earnings will be recorded in the company's books.
Okay. And as far as the timelines are concerned, both these Asha Parekh and Nashik Hospital, are there any disturbances led by COVID, or you feel in the next 2 years or so these assets should be ready for commercialization?
The hospital in Nashik should commercialize over the next year and a half. Having said that, there have been delays because these are largely led by external agencies which are not in the company's control. But we are basically on track as we talk right now, and hopefully in the next quarter we will have developments to share with all of you.
Okay. Okay. So Shanak, if you could help us give the capex number at least for the next in the bucket of the next 3 years, is it possible for you to give those numbers?
The capex again, as I said, there are for the new capex that we are talking about, we have close to 20 crore of investment that we expect in Nashik and about 160 crore of investment that we expect in Mumbai. I don't think any of this investment will happen in the current year, that is FY22, and most of it will start happening from FY23 and 24. Having said that, if you talk about the maintenance capex for the company, on an average we have we do about 1.5 crore of monthly maintenance capex, that is close to about 18 to 20 crores a year. Having said that, we have spent close to 9 crore plus in this quarter itself, and essentially 5 crore of that would be normalized. Another 4.5 crores has gone into buying equipment such as the ventilators, BiPAP machines, additional beds that were required, etc. Having said that, we will not overshoot the budget for this year. What we really feel is that we have accelerated the capex that we were required to do. However, for the year end, we will continue to maintain this in the 1.5 crore kind of 1.5 crore kind of monthly range.
Oh, and how much do you plan to deploy in Shalby Advanced Technologies?
So I was predominantly talking about the hospital business for Shalby Advanced Technologies. The capacity of this plant is really to make 25,000 joints in a year, and essentially we have already bought the company. We have just recently bought the company, and we believe that there will not be any major additional capex required over the next year and a half.
Yeah, absolutely. Just to add, if you look at, there are 13 milling machines and 5 lathes in that company, and we've just did some very minor maintenance work. The great thing about this acquisition is that the company has come in a very operational manner. So right now, as we said, we have started building up the capacity, and when we get into this plant with its current capacity, if we go by 100% capacity, can build 25,000 implants, and that's what we are working towards. And the capex investments over the next some years will be minimal in Shalby Advanced Technologies.
Thanks, and all the best.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next question is from the line of Ankit Pandya from Elara Capital. Please go ahead.
Hello. Hello. Yeah, am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Yeah.
Sir, thank you for giving me the opportunity to ask a question. So, with the new businesses coming forward in the implant and the franchisee model coming in, how should we look at the margins going forward?
So for the implant area, as I said, and I think Shania also repeated, this is the first year is an area where we are buying in raw materials, we are steadying the business and the operations. So but the second year onwards, which is the full year 23, we would be accretive and we will be having our positive EBITDA for the first time, as I said. So that's where we stand. On the franchisee model, Shranay, would you be able to respond to that?
See, franchisee model, again, for all the investors, it's an extremely asset-light model because in both the cases, in a FOFO model, there's not going to be any big investment from our side. And even with the FOFO model, the investment is going to be very small. So as such, we are going to have very low investments as it's an asset-light model. And we have made internal projections in terms of how it will look like. But having said that, since we are, just about to roll out our first franchisee, we would want to really, kind of see over the next 1 or 2 quarters how things pan out before we actually share, what kind of margins they will add. But we are very positive, and going forward 3 to 5 years down the line, we believe that at least 15 to 20% of the company's EBITDA can be generated through this franchisee model.
Okay, that's great. And one last question. With in the second quarter, how are the occupancy shaping up in the month of July? What was the occupancy in July, and how's the trend in August month, in this current month?
If you look at quarter 4, we'd had an average occupancy of 480 beds, right? And that occupancy number went to 723 in the previous quarter, which is quarter 1, right? At the moment, as I said, we are doing 20 to 25% higher numbers compared to quarter 4. So, and with no COVID patients. So essentially, we are on track, and, we believe that quarter 4 is the right reflection, and we are putting that as a benchmark for the company to go forward for the next 2 to 3 quarters at least. I would say that, the rough outpatient number would be between, 100,000 to 110,000 patients. The number of inpatients would be between 8 to 10,000. And, the number of daycare patients in quarter 4 was around 6,000. And the number of surgeries we did again was around 6,000. So, with those kind of benchmarks, we are taking forward, and we are, kind of having those kind of expectations for the next few quarters.
Okay, great. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Any participant who wishes to ask a question may enter star and 1. Our next question is from the line of Rajneesh Mahan from Master Capital. Please go ahead.
Hello, thank you for the opportunity, sir. Sorry, I'm new to the company. I just wanted to know a few things, basic. Like your total bed capacity is 2,100 beds. So, and operational, it's showing in the presentation, operational is 1,200. So what does that mean? The others are shut because of COVID, or what is the reason?
So I will tell you, we have around 1,225 beds which are operational as we talk. The bed capacity of the group is 2,000 plus beds. The good part about our hospital setup is really the fact that most of the capital investment has been made. So for us to scale up to 2,000 beds, we will require an additional capex of not more than 10 to 12 crore rupees, right? Which is almost 3 to 4 lakhs a bed going forward, right? Having said that, we have, in the COVID period, there were times when we had to kind of increase the operational capacity for a temporary reason, of course, to fill in more COVID patients. And essentially, for that, we had to scale up to almost 1,500 beds for a short period of time. So, as I said, as and when the overall average occupancy for the month or for the quarter goes up, you will gradually be seeing this operational number go up from 1,225 on to almost 1,500 over the next 2 years. And then after that, probably, after a year or so, after that, we will be having almost all of the beds which would be operational by then.
Okay. And so second thing is that in your presentation, I see there are some hospitals, like for example in Vapi, in Jabalpur, so where they are running since last 5 years, 8 years, but if I see the occupancy is still 19%, 24%. I mean, why is the occupancy so low? That is one. Do you still see opportunity? And then in Vapi, like for example, it's showing some 200 some plus beds, but the revenue contribution, if I see, is only 1%. So, I mean, if the revenue contribution is only 1%, the occupancy is low, I mean, do you still see the opportunity there that in 5 years it has not been able to scale up? And do you think now it's still there are, I mean, options are there? And second thing is that, I mean, these properties are owned, right? Vapi and this freehold. When you did freehold means it's owned.
Yeah. So I would like to tell you that Vapi is 1.5% of the total capital employed of the company, right? So we can't expect that kind of hospital to generate 5 to 10% of the company's revenue, right? So essentially, that Vapi hospital is 1.5% of the capital employed of the company, and the Jabalpur hospital is 3 to 4% of the capital employed of the company, right? Having said that, yes, we understand that there are reasons to work on in these particular hospitals, and essentially we are working on that, and we are already seeing a higher number of occupancy in terms of our hospital in Jabalpur. Jabalpur hospital is not owned by us. The land belongs to our partner, and essentially the building was almost 80% ready when we took over. We had to complete the building, and we basically put in the medical equipment there. So again, it is an asset-light model where we have invested close to 30 crores, and we have a hospital which is 200 beds over there. Vapi hospital, again, Vapi hospital was one of the first hospitals that we took over back in 2012. And, for the first 6 to 8 years, we definitely struggled. But having said that, the good thing is that the capital employed there is very low. It's only 1.5% of the total capital employed. And after the Vapi acquisition, we have not really kind of ventured into any town which is beyond tier 1, or tier 2, I would say. So essentially, Vapi, what we are trying to do right now is we are able to, it's a 2-hour drive from hospital in Surat, where we have been able to attract the top specialists of the town. And essentially, these are the doctors who are visiting Vapi on a very frequent basis to try and turn the hospital around. So going forward, we are optimistic that both Jabalpur and Vapi will be doing well.
Okay. And sir, next question is that your ARPOB has fallen quarter on quarter. And even if I deduct 25,000, which is on the lower end for COVID patients, in spite of that, there is a fall quarter on quarter from 33,000 to, I think you said 31,000, right? For without COVID, non-COVID patients.
Yeah, sure. This is because initially when we started, we were doing more of joint replacement surgeries, and company was dependent on joint replacement surgeries largely. And joint replacement surgeries, your ARPOB is somewhere in tune of 70,000 rupees, because patient package is 200,000 rupees and patient stays for 3 days. So when the other work is increasing, and when you are able to increase other work, it is always good that you are able to develop good multi-speciality chain. At the same time, it will dilute your ARPOB little more, because ARPOB of cardiology or ARPOB of other branches is not as good as joint replacement surgery. So it little bit dilutes over the time. When your joint replacement work is increasing, say by 10%, and other work is increasing by 30%, it will dilute your ARPOB little bit.
Mm-hmm. So then that means this is going to be volatile. I mean, we cannot have a number like a benchmark or something like that, and on an average or something like that.
See, it really depends on the specialty mix, and I think as we see a higher percentage of arthroplasty, you will see a higher ARPOB in that quarter. But as we have already spoken on the earlier calls, a higher ARPOB would not necessarily mean a higher EBITDA, right? So this is also important to note.
Okay. Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Our next question is from the line of Shantilal Mistry Maljain from Gujarat Karnavati Land and Estate Limited. Please go ahead with your question.
I just want to ask only one question, that in the hospital you are making that much of expansion, okay? So is it possible to attend everything?
Sorry, sir, can you come again? We missed your question, sir.
See, you are making the very good expansion, but will it be possible for you to cope up all these things?
Sir, that's a very good question that you have asked. And, we have a very strong management team under Dr. Shah. We basically are led by CXOs, so for operations and HR, we have Mr. Babu, who is the Human Resource Officer. We have Dr. Nishita Shukla, who is heading the group as operations head at group level. Mr. Inani is basically the Chief Financial Officer. And, we have these 7 to 8 CXOs, and they are headed by 200-member corporate staff in our corporate office. And each of the units that we run, there is a proper organogram where, these 200 to 300, 400 people are led by 8 or 9 very strong people at the top. And of course, now at a group level, we have Mr. Sushobhan Das Gupta, who has joined us at the group level, who will be overseeing not only the hospital business, but also the medical devices business for us.
See, there is no two opinion about Dr. Vikram Shah, because he is a world-known person, not India-known. But one thing I am asking, that whatever you do, will it be possible for Vikram Shah to attend?
So basically, it's very important to note that Dr. Vikram Shah is, 80-90% of his time is spent on his clinical work of orthopedics, right? So he was always led by a very strong management. And as I said earlier on this call, we have a new addition in Mr. Das Gupta, who is, who has 3 decades plus of experience into healthcare industry at a very, very senior level.
भाई बड़ी बात बराबर हमारे ऑपरेशन खराब हो मैं क्या
First of all, thank you for this question, sir. And it's a very pertinent question, and I'm sure it is in the minds of many people. One of the reasons that a company is successful or any business is successful, as you rightly know, is that we had to have the right people at the right place at the right time. So, as you rightly said, Dr. Shah has been an epitome. He's completely the backbone of success of Shalby. But having said this, when you look at the future, we are really looking at inducting a lot of people, including professionals who are very astute in running an organization like Shalby. So, as Shanay pointed out, I have joined as in the organization. I have 30 plus experience in the healthcare sector in multinational corporations across the world. We have a very good team of CXOs, of business unit leads. We are diversified, and as you talked about, we are getting into businesses where it has a synergistic and alignment of the business. For example, we've gone into the orthopedic implant business because no other hospital group and no other person than Dr. Shah and the team out here knows better about orthopedic joint replacements than Shalby. And that's the reason we got into orthopedic implants, so that we can have an end-to-end integration. We've gone into the Shalby Orthopedic Center of Excellence and the franchisee model because the orthopedic expertise that we have will be able to take care. As well as we are getting into multi-specialties because we're believing places like cardiac, spine, neuro, oncology are areas that will be. So to address your question, sir, we are preparing ourselves to be a very successful company and be able to handle all the expansions that we have done so far.
Thank you very much. That was the last question. I now hand the floor back to the management of Shelby Limited for closing comments. Over to you, sir.
Thank you again for joining our quarter one full year 2022 earnings call. As I said earlier, and I can repeat again and again, I can confidently say that these are exciting times ahead for us as an organization in Shelby as we move forward on our new initiatives and we are well positioned to deliver a profitable and sustainable growth and create value for all our stakeholders. Again, if you have further questions, please feel free to connect with the investor relations team, and please continue to stay healthy, safe, and sound. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, members of the management. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of Elara Securities Private Limited, that concludes this conference. Thank you for joining us, and you may now disconnect your line.